All right, this is Mike Woods. I'm at the Electric Starship Arcade, and I'm here on a Tuesday. It's one of the days we're closed. We're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. And why? It's because I work on games during that day, so y'all have something new to play when you come in. So, first things first, what are we working on today? T-molding, actually. Working on a few different things, but T-molding is the subject of this video. And I realize that people do their own arcade projects, and they probably worked on T-molding before. And sometimes little things that you take for granted can be daunting. So I'm just here to give you a few tips and tricks, some things I do. And I'm by no means an expert, but I've been getting by. So I'll show you some things that I do, and maybe to help you and your arcade project, make life a little easier for you. That's what it's all about, right? Helping each other out. So I'm going to show you what I'm working on today. It is a Capcom Big Blue, and it is the X-Men versus Street Fighter. Let's go back here, and I've already done the CPO and new buttons and got the joysticks and everything wired up, and we got to T-molding, and I thought, gosh, there's lots of little things that people do as far as tips go, and maybe I can help out a little bit. So basically, T-molding is pretty straightforward. There's a slot in the sides of the arcades here, as you can see it kind of running along that edge there, and you stick this as T-molding here. So it has a kind of a barbed middle center, and then this flat surface that you see on the outside. And when you're hammering it on, it's pretty straightforward, right? You just basically take this mallet right here, and you come along and you just kind of hammer that on. Just like that, and it kind of goes into that little slot and the end, pretty easy. But you need all your tools. So the first one here, mallet, right? Got a big rubber mallet. If you get into corners, it's kind of cool to have it rounded like this, because you can go into, let's say you got a corner like this one, you can bring that mallet in like this, so you can kind of get that circle touching those corners when you bang it down like that, instead of, you come down with that edge, you're having to kind of hit it with the corners on the end. So I like to use my mallet in those corners on the sides like that. So that's kind of fun. The other thing, when we get to talking about corners and cutting the T-molding, you can use one of these little guys. This is what I use to cut the T-molding. You can cut it in half and obviously cut these little wedges and slices in it, and I'll show you a little more about that. And then lastly, I always like to have a hook tool, and I use this one here, and that way if you get to one of these little slots and you got to clean it out, you can use these. You can get these like Harbor Freight or Home Depot. You can get a package of them. I usually keep those with me, and every once in a while the T-molding's being a little squirrely and won't come apart real easy when I'm pulling little tabs out, and I use these guys right here, little needle nose pliers. So what happens when you get to a corner, all right? You got two kinds of corners. You have the big rounded corners like this, or edge corners like that, and you got these little concave, I forget which one's which. You got those kind that are this way. So these I feel are a little easier, right? You get in those, and what it's doing when you're bending the T-molding is it's stretching it when you're going this way. I like to take a little tension off of this, and what I do is I cut like little slots. You see those little slots right there? That way when you bend it, it bends a lot easier. And so that way you get a nice bend going into a corner. And those are little corners. But if it's a big corner like this one here, I'll cut a bunch of little slots. So all the way through there. Yes, you can use that sound effect. And then also you get to a corner like this one, and you bring that T-molding around. What you'll see a lot of times when people do it, this is hard to do with one hand, but they'll bring it around, and that T-molding will start to wrinkle like that. And that's trash, right? Because it's hard to get that kind of a wrinkle there into a straight slot like that. So what I do is I take those cutters and I cut little pizza wedges in them like this. See? And I cut those and I remove those with my little needle nose pliers if they stick, or if you get a little straight cut. And what happens is when you go into a corner like this, these kind of roll like that, and you don't get that ripple in your barbed center of your T-molding. And this is probably what other people do, I don't know. But I found some arcades, and you can see kind of that just fits flush there now. And I'll see other arcades that I'm taking, excuse me, I'm gonna get down off this ladder. taking stuff apart, and I'll see those ripples in there, and it's just kind of terrible. So I'm trying to do something, make it a little easier on you. And lastly, kind of a easy, fun thing is I leave the T-molding in the box, see? And then instead of dragging along the floor, getting it all scratched up when you're moving around, possibly stepping on it, I put it in this rolling chair, and then the box and the rolling chair can just kind of go along with me as I'm moving around the arcade. And then, you know, get you a trusty dolly down there. You can set that thing up on an angle like that, and that way if you have to put T-molding on the bottom of the cabinet, you don't just stop at the edge, you can put it all the way on the bottom like that and kind of slot it all the way down. Anyway, just a few fun tips. I hope that was will help someone out one day. Maybe they'll watch this video and say, man, what a great guy. Who knows, maybe I can have a little more confidence and do my own T-molding now. So anyway, we hope to have this game on the floor in October. We're putting a bunch of new games out then. Arcade's kind of quiet right now. I usually have the music cranked, but I turned it off to help you guys out. So anyway, that's all for now. If you would, I know this video is edited poorly because I'm not editing it all.